Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning. I am recording. I hope I'm recording. I'm recording on a new device, so we'll see how that works out. We'll see if that does what it is supposed to do. It is Wednesday morning. My phone, if you haven't been here in a couple of days, my phone that I do everything with, and I do mean everything. It is my alarm clock. It is my photo editing device, or my video editing device. It is my GPS. It is. I do everything with it, and I think I may have become a little over dependent on it, because when it went out, I found myself in a bit of a panic, because like I said, I do everything with that phone, and so I had to do something about it. I took it to the AT&T store, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's blown." And so he of course set me up with a new phone, and I get home and I start transferring the data from the old phone to the new phone, and the problem transfers with the data. So now I'm mad, because now I know that the problem is not the hardware, the problem is the software, and I just need to figure out what updated in the middle of the night. I find myself in the dilemma of, do I keep the new phone, which has some pretty cool features and some pretty cool high expenses, or do I do I take it back and say, no, we need to fix what's wrong with this phone? Leaning towards sticking with this phone, but that doesn't make me any less frustrated about it. We're drawing a manta ray today. I'm sorry, a stingray today. It is not a manta ray, it is a stingray. You can tell that because it has that little barb on the tail sticking up off of there. This is one of the cartilaginous fish in the same group as sharks, same major grouping as sharks. One of the class of fish that we were talking about the other day that similarly have the ampullae of Lancerensis, or Lancerini. The ESP that we were talking about, the ability to sense the impulse to move a muscle, not just the movement of muscles, but the impulse to move a muscle. If you think about moving a muscle, that impulse is picked up by their little electric sensors, which is pretty cool. I have a hair in my nose. I know y'all wanted to hear that. So anyway, that's about all of the exciting stuff going on here this morning. New device. Hopefully it records properly. This is not a safari toy, so the realism is a bit off. Safari, if you're paying attention, give me a call. I've got some ideas on sponsorship. This is not a Safari toy, so the details are not going to be as accurate. I got this one from the Houston Zoo. It's not a bad little toy. It's serving its purpose, right? It's doing exactly what I wanted it to do. And if I were a child playing on the beach, it would still serve its purpose. It still looks like a stingray. I could still throw it at a girl and say, "You've been stung!" Get to play with the fact that the coloration is so dark. We get to figure out how to really shade in a dark object. May get a visit from girl 2. She was up earlier. She said yesterday she thought about popping in, but she didn't know what she would do. And I'd say, well, I've never stopped you before. I used to pop in all the time. See. I may have to actually order some more lead. I don't remember the last time I went through this much lead this quickly. That's a good thing. That means I'm arting a lot. You hear a monitor running? What kind of monitor? You say you hear a monitor running. I don't know what kind of monitor. A motor? Sorry, my eyes are... My eyes are adjusting this morning. All I hear are dolphins swimming next to my head. I wonder what we're picking up, because there's not anything running. There was a car outside. My mom's in the chat telling me she's hearing noises. Maybe a fan? No, we don't have any fans running unless it's the fan on the computer. And I can believe that because it is super warm in here this morning. And I'm afraid that's only going to get worse. There's a lot of little ridges around this. That I'm obviously, for obvious reasons, I'm not going to try to draw all of them. But when I shade, I want to shade in the direction of them, so that if I leave any gaps, it just looks like light reflecting off of them. Same thing you do when you're shading hair. You're going to make sure you shade in the direction of the lines. I think we've got pretty good basic shape there. Now then, let's see, how are we doing on time? Oh, it's 5:41 already. Alright, so we have a cast shadow here. We have a cast shadow here. We have the body casting shadow on itself here. Slight shadow here. This is all in shade because of itself, and then that shadow turns to this side. And then this is just a different color over here. And then, because it's a toy, this is not paper thin. In the wild, these things are paper thin. These have little cartilage bones that fan out around the whole thing. On this plastic toy, they are not paper thin. Alright, let's add that drop shadow, and then from there we can go back and start cleaning up some of these lines. I don't have very many stray lines. This is a fairly simple shape, very straightforward shape, so I don't have very many stray lines. This is one of those things where you're like, I wish I had this on a Monday or Tuesday when I'm in a hurry. But I think we're going to find there's more detail there that I'm really giving it credit for. let's clean up the stray lines before we color in something that doesn't exist. These things are, in the wild, they're endangered. They get caught up in eaten, and they don't reproduce very quickly, and when they do reproduce, they reproduce in live birth. So the female will carry around, she doesn't really have a uterus, but the eggs eggs have a soft yolk, have a soft shell, and they just kind of hang out inside her cavity, and then they develop, and then they just swim out. She just kind of releases them, and when they come out with all the instincts to survive, so they just swim off. For a while there, she's got a milk-like substance that she secretes, but it's not milk. In the mammalian sense. But that means that that each mating cycle she's only reproducing about 5 offspring, as opposed to normal fish that produce thousands of offspring at a time. So they're not reproducing fast enough to replenish. And then you have people hunting them. Especially after one of them stabbed Steve Irwin in the heart. There were a whole bunch of people that just decided to take vengeance on the fish for the death of Steve Irwin. But Steve Irwin would not have wanted that. So they're in all kinds of bodies of water. My mom says, do they prefer a particular body of water? There's fresh waters, stingrays. There's saltwater stingrays. They're kind of, they're one of the oldest animals on the planet. They have fossils of these things from the Cretaceous and Jurassic. And they're all over. They don't have a specific body of water that they hang out in. They're in all oceans. They do prefer shallow water, some of them, and some of them prefer deeper water. Yeah, they're all over the planet, so you can't really just say we're not going to fish in these waters because of the rays, because of the stingrays. So now I have to shade this booger in. Make it look like it has waves in its fins when it's really just a two-dimensional drawing. So we're not going to make it as dark as it is on the actual model, but I am going to shade across the shadow. But the toy is actually darker than the shadow. Which means all those hard-fought details that we put in there get a little bit lost. Let's see if we can add some semblance of light back to it. How do you make it look like a dark toy and not a huge honking shadow? When the shadow is not as dark as the toy. But I think we're about there. Ooh, I broke the lid. Haven't done that in a while. I've been trying to be real careful not to actually put pressure, because you don't have to actually put pressure with 4B pencil. So I've been trying to be very careful not to actually put pressure on the pencil. And just let the graphite do its work. But I think we're about there. know some of the details were lost in the shading, I am going to try and lift some of the highlights back out. This should be very dark. I think that's about all we're going to be able to do in the allotted time. And that is one of the biggest kickers right there, is just saying my 30 minutes are up. It's time to stop. My 30 minutes are up. This is all the time I can dedicate to this. It's time to stop. Because if you don't, you find yourself getting frustrated. And not having finished drawings, instead of just getting used to them being a practice set. I'm not sure I said that very clear. It can be very frustrating when you want to finish the drawing. It can be very frustrating. But if you let that frustration overtake you, you'll find yourself, well, I don't have time to practice. I don't have time to do it because I can't finish the drawing. And you want to make sure that you don't let that stop you from practicing. Just practice with what time you do have, and accept the fact that you may not finish the drawing. Or, if it really bothers you, come back and finish the drawing later. But don't let that interfere with your practice time. Don't let perfection get in the way of good. But I'm calling it. What time is it? Right at 6 o'clock on the 14th of May. If I can get my camera to do what it's supposed to do over here. There we go. Let's see here. It took a picture before I was ready, but That's what we ended up with. And you can see that toy is very, very dark. If I had made the drawing as dark as the toy, we wouldn't be able to see any details. And I can see the details because from my perspective, I can see all the highlights coming through. But you can see compared to the live toy next to it. But alright guys, that has been another morning of sketching. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel, 5:30 in the morning. We'll do this every day. Be sure and join us tomorrow morning, and we'll see you then. And then we dance. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing, because that way